Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Michelle and today I want to talk about a book that I have been holding on to for probably almost 2 years, never read it, was really excited to get it when I first got it because I heard a really good review about it even though I learned really nothing about the story itself. And then I put it off and I was like, I actually was going through my books when I was moving and reading the first page of every book to kind of just see how they hooked me. My God, did this book hook me with the first page. So I decided I need to bump it up on my TBR. I want to read this soon. So right after I moved, I decided after I finished that book that I would read this book. So today, guys, I want to talk to you about an absolutely remarkable thing by Hank Green. And my God, does it match the name? And I might be exaggerating a little bit because I am probably the target demographic for this. So keep that in your mind, keep that with a grain of salt, that I am a target demographic, so I might like this more than your average reader. But I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about why I enjoyed it and why I would recommend this to probably just about anyone who lives in the modern age. So without further ado, let's go ahead and just talk about this book. One of the things that I think I should get out of my chest immediately is that not everything is perfect. One of the things that I'm not a huge fan of is some of the side characters are not very well developed. They feel like they are just kind of there to support the main character and their personalities are kind of flat. There's a character named Robin and his character, I don't even know anything about him. I don't know his personality. I literally think that he's just a conduit for the plot to happen and for the character to have somebody to rely upon. There's a couple of the other side characters have a similar issue where they're a little bit caricaturized and you don't know very much about them, and that kind of bothers me. However, I don't think it's really important that you know the other characters because this is a story about April May. April May is a woman who just graduated from art school. She's working at a design company and honestly, she's not feeling the passion for art like she used to. She literally chose this major because it was the only way that she could get a job, and now she's kind of in this weird place where she can do her job and she can do it well, but the passion is not there. Pretty early on, she discovers a giant statue in the middle of downtown New York, and she says, "That is art." She says that is an absolutely remarkable thing. She decides to make a video of it and her video goes viral and the whole story spirals from there. The entire story at the surface level seems to actually be about the statue and what the statue actually is and where it comes from and why it's there. But at the end of the day, the story is not really about that. The story is about humanity and the story is about April May. The story is about how a girl who really is just another girl who's she's literally like anyone else. I mean, April may be very, very confident in her opinion, but other than that, she's basically just like absolutely everybody else. And yet she becomes viral and we get to watch as the viral nature of her social media starts to affect her, starts to affect the way that she thinks and the way that she presents herself and the way that she solves problems. It changes almost everything about her. She creates a persona and she becomes that persona. And it's a beautiful story about how we're changed by social media. But it's not a story that says, oh, social media bad. It's not saying that social media is ruining America or ruining people or ruining the world. It's not a negative story about social media. It's a story about a person who's affected by social media and how social media can exaggerate things that are already there in humanity, both in the positive and the negative. And I would say this story, one of the main reasons I love it is it takes a very balanced approach between the pros and cons of social media and our connected nature as humanity and blows that into the spotlight. When you get down to it, It's a story about humanity, and humanity is portrayed through the viewpoint of the main character, but the main character is honestly humanity in a nutshell. She is the representation of humanity and our relationship to the internet and our relationship to each other. And I actually cried at the end of this book. I was tearing up, I was upset, torn, and also so empowered and so motivated and feeling so positive about humanity at the end of this story. It gave me the ability to objectively look at this concept of social media and objectively look at how society is and how humanity is, and to feel some semblance of hope, some semblance that it's not all bad. It's not all as bad as it seems. This story gave me the ability to just consider things differently. Many people might be drawn away from the fact that it's about social media in the modern world. I mean, we live in social media. There's the movie called The Social Dilemma. Like, do we really need another book about social media in this world? I say we need more. We need more stories like this one that approach the concept of social media indirectly, but also just so blatantly in your face about social media. I love that. I think that as a society, we need to think more about the big picture of humanity, the big picture of how we interact with each other and how we interact with the internet. And this book does just that. We need more stories like this in our lives. We need more stories that question the way humanity's going and put a spotlight on it and say, hey, this is what it is. This is actually what's going on. How do we feel about that? Well, that's your decision to ultimately make, but here it is. Here's what's going on, and here's how it's happening. And this is a very accurate depiction of what it's like for people to get Insta famous. Like, this book takes place over the course of maybe 6 months or so as she becomes more and more popular, and she has to deal with so many people wanting her opinion and so many people hating her opinion. Hank Green is a phenomenal author. The way that he expresses this girl's voice, I swear to God, she's a real human being. I could stand right next to April May and be able to have a full-on conversation with her. That is how real she feels in this story. The other characters in this story don't feel as real, but April May is viscerally real. As you read this story, it sounds like you're reading a diary of someone who has been through this event. You see her thought process, and she makes some pretty crappy decisions. I mean, she makes some crappy decisions, and you're not going to agree with all the decisions that she makes, and that's kind of the point. You're not going to agree with most of the decisions that she makes, but you're going to understand where they come from. And that is ultimately what a good writer is trying to do, is trying to help you understand the perspective of somebody else. A couple cons I'm going to throw out there. If you're not somebody who likes first person, this may be a little bit, off-putting to you because it is in first person. I honestly don't really mind one way or the other. I do prefer third person and multiple point of views, but although this is almost exclusively in a single point of view and it's almost exclusively in first person, actually it is exclusively in first person, I don't mind that. I enjoy that. But if you're off put by first person, this may be a struggle for you to get through. If you can push past that, I would highly recommend, because my God, this may be one of the best books I have ever read in my life. And I think that I can say that with confidence. There are not many books that have made me feel so viscerally. There are not so many books that had an enjoyable premise and there was so much to learn and you just want to know more. That scratches a few itches for me. I really love sci-fi and I really love understanding people's perspectives and I love seeing the big picture of it. So this checks off all the things that I really love, and I hope that if you are on the fence, or maybe you've heard about it, or maybe you haven't heard about it, that you give it a try. I really recommend this book. It is great both in the audiobook format and the physical book. I am somebody who reads half and half. Sometimes I use the audiobook, sometimes I actually read the book. Because I like to multitask. Don't judge me. I love audiobooks. I'm gonna make a whole video on why I love audiobooks and why they're so great, but we're gonna not talk about that right now. Check out this book, and if you have, let me know your opinions down below. What do you think about April May? Do you love her? Do you hate her? I personally am not her biggest fan, but I love this book. Like, I didn't like the main character and I still loved the book. That's how much this book stuck with me. What did you think about this story? Is this a story you want to pick up now? Tell me your thoughts down below. If you like this video, go ahead and like and subscribe. If you want to support me and what I do on my channel, go ahead and check out the Patreon. And regardless of what you do, whatever your choice is, thank you so much for sticking around all the way to the end of the story, all the way to the end of the story, all the way to the end of the movie, all the way to the end of the movie. My God, all the way to the end of the video. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a beautiful, amazing, fantastic day. Bye!